Now we're done with the back section and we're ready to start the front, beginning with the left shoulder. So I've placed the back in the direction it would be worn so that this becomes left shoulder. And we could be putting stitches on holder, but because I know that we'll be working this as one piece once both fronts are added, I'll leave them on the same needles. But it's probably easier to put them on some waste yarn or on holder for the time being, if that's easier for you. So I'll also be using the same strand without cutting, because sometimes things need to be unraveled for any reason. And so we have to find the strand that is between the first stitch column and the second stitch column. So the second stitch column is really easy to see. That was the direction we were knitting in from here neck down to there. So these are the two legs of the second stitch column. The first stitch column is harder to identify, but well, it's the one that's next to the second stitch column. So I can see that these strands here are the strands that I'll need to be picking up. And unfortunately, the first row is always tricky to figure out where to insert the needle. So anywhere is okay, really, as long as what follows is kept consistent. So I'm over the first row. The next one is this strand, and then it becomes much easier. And sometimes, especially if you're using yarn that isn't so stretchy or elastic, it can be quite hard to stretch this loop out enough to get this new stitch through. Then you can use the other needle to help for a bit. So once you've found the strand that you want to pick up, you can place it on this other needle and knit through as you would normally through a stitch. Well, it looks like you would be knitting through the back loop of it, but I'm sure you can see what I mean. It's easier to stretch out with two needles than with one. And you should see a very neat seam forming here, as long as you keep it consistent where you are picking up the strands from and not jump between stitch places like this. So just keeping between the second column and the first, and it's easy to see that by following the leg of the second stitch column. So where it comes out here, that's where we need to pick up the strand. And once you've reached the specified number of stitches in the pattern for the shoulder, you should be at your locking marker, which you now can remove. It's quite important that you do get the right stitch count, because the rest of the shoulder pattern depends on that count.